Hello and welcome to this mini training. Before we get started, I want to ask a couple questions. How many of you are employed? How many of you are self-employed? How many of you are business owners? But more importantly, how many of you have more tasks that need to get done in your day than you have the actual time and resources to get those done? And did you know that the only difference between being self-employed and a business owner is your ability to delegate those tasks? Good day. My name is David Bullock. I'm asking these questions because I've been a business owner for the last 20 years. Let me give you a little bit about me as to why this subject is near and dear to my heart. I started out as a lubrication engineer with Mobil back in the 80s. I then moved to DuPont in the 90s. I was a DuPont process engineer. I moved from a process engineer at DuPont to a process engineer working at GM, General Motors. I left GM and became a robotics engineer with Fanuc Robotics. From there, I moved up through process engineering, through project management, and then into a sales role where I actually managed the territory. My last position that I had in corporate America ended in 2004, but from 1997 to 2004, I ran a territory in the Southeast. I was the district account manager for international accounts for Fanuc Robotics. What I did in that role is I built the territory to about $350 million in sales over the course of 7 years. And my clients were Nissan, Mercedes, BMW, Hyundai, and their first and second tier suppliers. I was directly responsible for the automation in that region. The last two positions that I've had have been in executive roles with startups. My first startup experience started in 2010. And that was as a CMO of a social network, specifically catering to the nursing profession. And then the last role that I had was as CTO of a dark fiber installation firm. We built a portion of the internet between New York and New Jersey, and we're due to light up that particular network route in 2024. So when we talk about process and project management, and managing people, places, and things, including the money and the budgets that make the projects work, I have some real world experience here. So today, I'm going to be talking to you about something called the Eisenhower Matrix. Most of us have seen that. This matrix is attributed to General Dwight Eisenhower. He was a 5-star general. He also was the president of the United States, the 34th president. He was noted for his efficiency, and he created a system for time management based on 4 boxes, but more importantly, that which is urgent and that which is important. The 4 boxes are do, decide, delete, or delegate. His system's framing is predicated on 2 items, that which is important or not important, and that which is urgent and not urgent. When I looked at that, I noticed there was something that was a little bit out of alignment with how we're set up now to run in the world. Software didn't exist. The television had just come online. Social media didn't exist. So to look at what's important and what's not important, that is predicated many times on how we are programmed or what marketing tells us. So I looked at that and I had to rework it because important and not important was very subjective. So now the axes are now showing scheduled, time value, experience, and personal attention. So when you use the matrix now within this particular framework, it changes everything. And as a business owner, you want to be able to delegate, decide, do, and delete as quickly as possible. So what we're going to do now is we're going to walk through this matrix because this is for use. You can use this immediately. Right after this presentation, once you've been exposed to this, you can get to work with this in your life and business to get the results that you want from your business. So let's go through the content on the matrix, but I want to show you what's different here and how it can be used and how you can actually function with this both in your life and in your business. I'm going to give you a brief process engineering primer, and then we'll get right into the matrix. So let's look at something here. The automation overview. You can automate with people, machines, and software. See, software didn't exist like it does now. And there's like an app for everything now. And now AI is even coming into play for leverage for people to actually get more out of what they're doing. But everything now is program driven to the point that it's transparent to us. A washing machine or a dishwasher is a labor-saving device, and it is a form of automation. So bear that in mind. Anything where you are not having to do it because something else is taking over is automation, and it's all around us all the time now. So let's look at processing. So a process overview. For things to be able to be processed, whatever the thing is you're trying to do, it has to be the same thing over and over again. And if it's not the same, you have to have whatever it is sit long enough so that you can do or process whatever you need to process. See, another way to say that is that it's a standard operating procedure. So there's little or no deviation. In other words, it's predictable. See, business doesn't like a lot of changes. You know, we have government changes, legal changes, environmental changes, but business, the way you want to run it, should be day in and day out. It should be boring as all get out. Get up, this happened, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. I made the sale, I made the product. It should be steady and it should be simple. But a lot of times we don't set up our processes or our systems to be able to get there. We want the same thing happening day in and day out. Once you get it to that point, then you can actually set your business to scale. So now what we're going to do, now that you have that overview of what process engineering is and automation is and what processes are, we're going to go over each box in the matrix just so you can get a look-see at it. Process automation matrix. You'll see that you have schedule on one side, you have personal attention, you have time value, and you have experience. So let's look at the first box, which is the decide box. Now, there's about 6 layers to this, so this could actually get pretty deep depending on where you are in your organization, how big it is, and what you actually need to do. What I would ask you to do is just listen to this. You can take notes. Please get out a piece of paper because there's going to be some parts at the end where you're going to want to write some things down. But make simple notes. I'll give this all to you in a one slide so you have it so that you can refer to. Again, we're going to take you on a very high level for each sector, which is the decide box. Now, this is, for me, this is the most important part of the system. Here's where the action starts. See, from here, you get to choose where you're going to move next to. If you can notice here, with the decide box, you already have the experience. There's nothing new for you to learn. You decide when the timing is, and you decide where your attention is going to go. Now, from here, you can either delete something, ignore it, delegate it, do it, or schedule it for a later time. And again, this box is the most important. Here you have your time is not critical, but you do have to pay enough attention to it to get it out of your head and off of your plate. Move it away from you and decide what you're going to do with it. Most people think that the first box that you want to deal with is the actual do box, but that's not it. You want to start here with decide first, because a lot of times people get into situations where they don't have time to decide, and then they get distracted because they can't figure out what to do next. The next box is obvious. It's to do. Now, this is the most dangerous box because, see, in this box, this is where most of us fail. Most of us are actually doing too much and taking on too much at any given time. This is the box that makes us tired at the end of the day and frustrated because there's more to do than the amount of time in the day to get it done. This is really where all the action actually happens, and we are trained to think that this is a good thing to be busy all the time. But if you're busy all the time, that means your time is taken up all the time. Then there's the delete box or done box. This box is a bit deceptive. To delete is to decide or to ignore it. Now, delete is also done because once it hits the delete box, it is done. It's off your plate. It's out of your space. But this box is a bit deceptive. To delete is also to decide to ignore something too. Or it could mean you take it off of your plate quickly. This is where it is faster and easier for you to get something handled with a quick communication or a conversation. Just handle it very quickly. To delete means to move to done quickly. And it's eliminated from your list and eliminated from your mind. Now, the delegate box, this is where you actually make up time. This box is where you duplicate yourself. This is where you scale your capacity and actually create time. Now, let's look at how this box is set up. Notice that experience is high here. This is the idea that if you're going to delegate something to someone, it has to be to the right person who actually knows what they're doing. So take, for example, this presentation that was put together by a designer. The original presentation I did, although it was usable and functional, was not as polished or clean as this particular presentation. Now, with the proper designer, it took only 3 iterations to get here, and it took about 1 week by a super talented designer, and then look at the finished product. It looks better than anything that I would have ever done in PowerPoint. I could have never come up with something this good so quickly. This is an exact example of good help. Many times we look at paying the least, and it shows because it actually ends up costing us more in time, and our satisfaction is not met when we don't pay enough or don't get the right people on the job. So you want someone that you delegate to actually have experience. Now, this is a good place to talk about money. I learned a lesson a long time ago, many years ago, that money is foldable time. So when you're paying for services, you're paying for the time, experience, and expertise, and you're paying for the fast delivery of that service. And again, and then this box is where you actually duplicate yourself. This is the money box. You can also look at this box. See, here's where you put things that you don't know how to do yet, or you'd have to learn to do, or things you can't do yet. Things you don't have time to learn to do, but you still need to have done. See, this is where millionaires are made, in the delegation box, and sadly unmade. So if you're doing everything yourself, then you're not in a position to scale. So let's fix that. Let's take a look at it. For maximum efficiency, you want to move as much as you can into the delegate box. Now, we've all heard the saying that you want to delegate out the $15 an hour task so that you can concentrate on the $1,000 an hour task of the business owner. We know this, but how many of us actually do this in real lives in our business? And this is where the rubber really meets the road with this delegating. How do you get more out of your time by leveraging other people? So how to delegate? So here's how it works. The first thing you have to do if you're going to delegate is you have to document the task. And there's actually a process for making a process. And once you do this, you only have to do it one time. You never have to do it again. In fact, if you take 1 hour to properly document a 15-minute task, and after 4 cycles of doing that task by someone else or someone else doing it, you gain that hour back. You never have to spend that hour again doing whatever that thing was. This is how you actually create time in your life. You have to document the process. And then once you have a process, you place it inside of what they call an SOP. An SOP is standard operating procedure. So once you have that process documented along with the sequence and the standard metrics, meaning how do you know when it's done and done correctly, you can easily delegate the entire SOP. So the process is inside of the SOP itself, all that can be completely taken off of your plate and handled by someone else. And all you have to do is make sure it's done and monitor the results. Most people in companies don't know how to do this. And even with all the instructions and tools, they still do it wrong. So like I said before, we automate with people, machines, and software. Right now, we're moving into a space where we have to learn how to not just process and document, but how to systematize. So making a system is something a lot easier now than before, because right now, our machines are essentially computers. Unless we're working in a machine shop or a manufacturing facility, our day-to-day machine that we interface with is actually a computer. So let's look at the process map again. Delete, decide, do, but look now, we're going to systematize. We're going to go from an SOP to systemizing this, which is now to the next level. So let's see, you create a system of people, processes, and programs, and then you're really able to scale. And although it seems a lot of times we're trying to eliminate people, experienced people are actually very valuable and important to the operation of every business. See, you need people to actually run the machines, take care of customers, manage software, handle the input of data into systems, execute various tasks, run customer service, run reports, and more importantly, manage other people. But here's the thing. there's some obstacles to actually getting the right people into your business. One of them is training. How do you train them to do the things you need to do in your business? What kind of experience do they have? And sometimes people can actually be expensive. For most businesses, people are the greatest expense, but you need them. But a lot of times we don't have the money yet to pay for them. But there's a solution for this part too. We actually have solutions in place now based on, we just went through the pandemic, which shifted a lot of the marketplace and how people work. So now you have people who are trained and experienced, and they can actually be contacted and secured at a fixed cost. Before we get to any further along in here, we have to look at where are you in this process. You now have the matrix, you know what it is, you have the overview, you have a way to think about it. And now you know that you have to document your processes, and you know how to create, well, you don't know how to create the SOP, but you know you need an SOP, and you also know you need to push that into systems. But let's see how this can actually work for you and your business. So there you have it, the new Eisenhower matrix reworked for today's environment. So to take the next step immediately and to begin to have it work for you in your business and life, we have prepared a fast action implementation package for you. So somewhere on this page, you'll see a form or a link. Click on the link or activate the form. You'll gain access to the following. Number one, a workbook that includes the matrix framework that we just talked about today. Once you start using it and thinking with it, your life will immediately begin to realign. You'll start to cut out some things. You'll start to move a little bit quicker. Your efficiency will increase exponentially. But you have to use the matrix thinking. You have to incorporate it in your life with everything that you do. Now, what's included in the workbook, number two, are checklists so that you immediately begin the documentation process that we talked about. This is a requirement for delegation. You can start to sort your processes and your SOPs today. The special report is titled, Why Top Business Owners Know It's Vital to Have an SOP and How to Create Your Own. After you have completed the workbook for your business, you'll be invited to speak to one of our business automation specialists to go over your work and to see if you're ready to organize and systemize your business, get your time and life back, and set your business up to scale. So take the next step toward success. That's the goal of every business owner. We'll be waiting for you on the other side. Thank you so much.